And we're rolling. Good morning, bro.
Good morning.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm working, and the NFT project is growing, and
Excellent.
yeah, we're not really pushing, but how is the term that they're using today? Grinding.
Grinding, splitting.
I assume you're on the same level, no? Full on.
Around the clock.
Around the clock.
There's so much to do in this space, and it's so exciting that we just never stop.
That's the thing. It's like, because somehow I don't feel I'm working.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's so passionate. There's so much enthusiasm. There's so much and ideas coming, and then hooking up with other people, hooking with you. You know, you have one, boom, 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 and it starts. It's multidimensional. It's fun. Yes, it's fun. Yeah, I think that's the for me one of the main principles that is exciting about what we're going to discuss, because we're not, you know, it's not just technology. Yes, it's there. And it's not just the blockchain. Yes, it's there. And the legalizations and all of this stuff. But for me, the deeper value in it that we're shifting, we're kind of reinventing, or in another iteration of what we defined as archetypes of the worker, what is social structures,
exactly.
How we communicate, what is art. That is my section. You know, it's like how we look at art, how we look at each other ultimately, because these things are all a reflection of all this, you know.
That's right. The whole fabric of society.
Exactly. And I think somehow, I think that's where the excitement is coming from. I think it's the golden vein. Then the symptoms of that, they manifest in a lot of variants, you know.
I mean, even when we're at like all the events, you end up seeing all types of people there, like techies, artists, legal professionals, yes. And the conversation is not like there's any disconnect.
Yes.
We all get it. There's
There's the commonality, the common factor is being stretched and more inclusive. That's fantastic. Something I say this and we go for the purpose. Like yesterday I engaged a guy. I have no idea from where he is, because you know now most of these people are undoxed. You know, so they don't show their face or whatever. And he's going to be one of the moderators on the Discord server. There's already a team, but this guy somehow I feel an affinity with him.
Cool.
And he told me, from where are you, bro? Because he calls me a boss, man, you know. And when I hear that, it's like it's either India or somewhere, you know. It's like everywhere. Okay, boss. It's like it puts me in a like okay. And he's from Ghana, man.
Cool.
You know, so but when you think about it, from Ghana, first and foremost, I have a misconception of what Ghana is, because I have never been there. So all I know about Ghana is from news, or I never been there, you know. Right. So and that's what I realized. I said, it's like how good is this, man? You know, it's like someone from Ghana, he's studying mass communication, you know, and I'm gonna be in a place where I can first and foremost learn about this guy, you know, learn about Ghana and my relationship and all this, what it will unfold.
That's right. And even like a lot of the technology, it's really helping certain societies to move forward.
Yes.
So certain developing countries, certain areas of poverty, a lot of people have access to
Exactly.
We can really change those places. That's what I look forward to seeing.
Yes. Like even I asked him how he wants to get paid. I told him he made a Revolut or PayPal. I'm still a bit. I'm very much into it and all and the blockchain, you know. But somehow when it comes to payment, it's like it's a pattern, you know. It's like first one is Revolut, you know, because it's the one I use every day.
Exactly.
That's the reason being. No, he told me, and I'll send you a wallet of MetaMask, either NFTs or Binance So, but it sustains what you were saying. Like these countries where they have some sort of a distorted economical structure, these technologies are bringing a bit of fresh air for them.
Exactly.
So
bank will be unbanked. There's many people that have access to this.
Yeah. Fantastic. So Joshua Ellul. Who's Joshua Ellul, bro?
So, Joshua Ellul, the long, let's not do it too long. So,
no, the short version.
Exactly.
Because I have a feeling if it's going to be long, it's going to be long.
So I've always been into computers since a young age, but I was never really into school. I was never really big on education. And I actually quit sixth form to get a job programming.
Wow.
Yeah. And because I didn't like the typical educational system. And my girlfriend at the time told me that I should try to get into university. And I scraped my way in. And I got into the IT degree and I found what I loved doing. And then I just excelled over there. So Joshua Ellul is a pragmatic person, I would say, who loves programming, computers, has become an academic now, later on in life, ironically.
Ironically, yes.
But I really love tech, and I love, especially now, how tech can change society. And besides that, I'm chilled otherwise.
Yeah, from the few moments that I engaged with you, you're a very chill guy, man. Like, I would like to see a world where academics are more on this level, you know? Because it's another template. It's like, even for me, like when I met Yanis, you know, it's like a lawyer, like, you know, there's a bit of a restraint somewhere. It's like, but then it's these misconceptions, these preconceptions that we have, and we keep creating from that, rather than challenge a bit that, get a bit neutral and open up, and it's like you'll find something that is always useful.
Yeah, so, but on that point, so I think a lot of the academics, especially like, let's say, the older academics, maybe potentially who aren't there anymore, a lot of them did have this ego problem and sort of don't approach us. And I think the younger generation, a lot of them are questioning that.
Yes, it's different. I mean, ultimately, what's the difference? I mean, I come from a background of, you see the gong there, sound therapy and, you know, arts and the creative side of things. And at some point I ventured a bit into the spiritual side of things, you know, and sat with people from Tibetan Buddhism, like Muji and like a bunch of them. And they all say the same thing, man. You know, it's like the guy who's cleaning the toilets is actually, in reality, when you go deep in the core of things, it's much more important than being someone on the top, because if that one crawls, everything crawls. So it's the base, you know. And if we recognize that, then then we're in a good place to start building. Then we start building.
I definitely agree, and we often have like different hierarchies of how we think about society, and oh wow, this person's important or successful. All of that we should think about ourselves, the individuals. How do we become happy, or how do we maximize our place in the world? And I think we'd be so better off, because we don't care about money.
In reality, it's happening, huh? In reality, it's happening. I mean, from the way I see things, if I compare, how I personally used to see things and how I see things today, and if I stretch a bit my view on the people that are surrounding me, youngsters, even looking at my father, man. Yeah. Even looking at my father, as rigid as he still is, you know, but in his spectrum, his rigidity has become much more fluid in his spectrum. So, and I need to see that. So anyway, nice, because this is the vibe of all this, you know. It's like structure and no structure, you know. It's conversation. So, all right, the tech. The tech side. So,
okay, I went deep into really low-level systems, how we create certain types of systems, especially for the Internet of Things, a lot of devices around the world before the Internet of Things existed. And because of a specific area I went into, which are called virtual machines, I then got interested in blockchain.
What are they called?
Virtual machines.
Virtual machines, all right.
So a virtual machine is when you can create, well, there's different types, but the simplest one would be, I can create a program in a particular language, and I can run it on any single computer. There's a virtual machine which translates from the language to your specific computer.
Nice.
And that's the tech that I loved. And then in the blockchain world, Ethereum was proposed, which has a virtual machine. So we write smart contracts, which can then execute. That's when I started getting into blockchain, when I really saw the benefits of Ethereum.
For sure.
I wish that I got into the space much before, because I heard about Bitcoin quite early on. I said, financial applications.
I pause you a bit. I met a guy at 2010 who wanted to give me 50 Bitcoins for 500 euros. You know? And I said, nah, this is like, what the heck is Bitcoin, man? You know, it's like, and he was telling me, bro, this is gonna fucking grow. And I'm like, yeah.
Same thing. Cool, but it's just about finance or money. I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah, I was in that space. Yeah, like, now I don't have regrets in my life, but I have to say that I have one, which is that.
and like a lot of it's not because that we would become super loaded. Like there's nothing wrong with having.
No.
It's the freedom that then you can really do anything in your time, which we still can, but I guess just
can I deviate you a bit and I tell you a bit of a story?
Yeah. So
it was my birthday is 11th May, so it was 2-3 months ago. Yeah. And I was in this, I'm not a trader, you know, I have Bitcoin, but it's sitting there. And I said, I want to do something with it. So, and I wanted to join the crypto hub, you know, and get involved a bit more in the networking, what's happening here in Malta. And I went on Facebook, got in, and this guy immediately, he had pictures in the group, huh? It's like, it's a pro shit.
Yeah.
So he had pictures with guys that I know from crypto.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. For sure, they were manipulated. Yeah, because it turns out to be a scam, of course. You know. Wow. And I was drinking a bottle of wine. It was the night at 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's the day of my birthday, and I'm saying this is God given, man. He told me check this out. No. And I was in hype, of course, and a bit intoxicated. Right, so my decision making was not so clear, and so I invested 1,200 euros in Bitcoin. I gathered all the Bitcoin that I had, Binance here and there, and you know, boom, and I put them down. And the next day, he told me, "Did you check the platform? They went up to 3,000 euros," and I'm like, "Whoa, man!" The next day, they went up 3,800. It reached 6,000 euros in 3 days. Then I received an email to keep on trading and to keep this momentum going, I need to invest another 2.2 Bitcoin. 0.0 something, which is equivalent of 2,000 euros. So it's like, what the fuck is this, man? You know, it's like, then it's like click. Anyway, it turned out to be a scam. Yet, because for me, it's a matter of how you look at things and you put them to use, you know? It gave me 4 days of living financially free. Before I had a concept what that is. Now I had a 4-day experience, and it's like, bro, it's fucking amazing.
Definitely.
It's not that I was boosting and I was thinking of buying BMWs and all of this stuff, because I was more thinking how to help certain people that I want to introduce more people to this so they can enjoy this as well, you know? That was the first thing. So yeah, it's like that is something that I think we all strive for that, no? I mean, I think it's a God-given, man.
Definitely. And on that point, like these scams, so I think there's a number of points on that. They exist everywhere. Like they exist in every single sector where there's money to be made. Yeah. And you get a lot of people who hate crypto saying all it is about scams. It's like, no, these things have existed in every single sector. I mean,
even at the local market down in Valletta, there's scammers. I mean, it's like,
they're everywhere.
It's like cockroaches. No, they're everywhere. It's like
another good point to that experience for you, and I've had several of these as well. Is it was a cheap lesson to learn as well.
Yeah.
You could have lost way much more in a different span.
Yeah.
So sometimes we go through these hard lessons, which are actually, in the grand scheme of things,
they're valuable, man. I think they're valuable. Anyway, I diverted you from the tech point. We were at the virtual.
So virtual machines, smart contracts, Ethereum. And that's what I've been really like, the whole blockchain research stuff I've been focusing on, I would say, for the past, 5-6 years. And then Malta announced it would become the blockchain island. There was this like a huge push. And we reached out to the government from university and we said, like, what are you doing? How can we help? And me and Professor Gordon Patch got roped into helping out with the legislation from the tech side. And that's where we really started working with lawyers. And
you have to.
Wow, totally different people. And this space is bringing together all these different professionals, lawyers, economists, techies, domain experts, artists. And we're like, wow, how are we all going to work together on this stuff when we have so...
There were artists involved in the conversation?
And so in the legislation, no, but we started to see that every single domain is going to start to use this stuff.
Yeah.
And every single person comes in with their baggage, their vocabulary, their processes. So we need a way to bridge that gap. And we said we need to come up with an educational program where a techie can go deep in the tech, but he can start to understand the different aspects, the legal aspects, societal aspects. Yeah. And that's where we proposed the Masters in Blockchain. And then the next step, so this is, I guess, tech and all kind of my journey, is I ended up chairing the Malta Digital Innovation Authority, which kind of is the regulator of technology. All right. So you do an ICO, the financial authority will say, you need to make sure that your code is correct.
Yeah, and it does what it says that it's going to be doing.
Exactly. Perfect. And that's what the Digital Innovation Authority did.
Because that's another one that when we say a regulation system or an authority, it's like, I have it as well. It's like, nah, man, what the fuck, you know? Yeah. It's like, but ultimately, I think in a more mature way of seeing things, right? It's not a right or wrong way of seeing things. It's a more mature, like open up a bit. Like, it's good to have some sort of regulator.
Definitely. So I think there's a natural instinct when we hear about authority regulators. Like, these guys are going to screw it up.
Because that's what they do most of the times. So
many have done that. And you know, even in the space, like a lot of people in the blockchain decentralized space say, no, we don't need any regulation. We don't need any centralization. The code will do exactly what it needs to do. Yeah, that's true until there's a mistake in the code, until you lose your funds. Yeah. Like you see all of these guys losing millions of euros or however much. Yeah. The first thing they do is they go to a lawyer and say, how can I get my money back?
Yeah. Who can I sue? Which is a centralized.
Exactly.
You know,
so we need to find the right balance. And besides that as well, the common person out there who's not into decentralized tech, are they really going to trust the tech over a regulator? We need to find the right balance.
Yes,
and that is exactly the
that brings me to the something that is super important for me, and my project is all about that, including this channel. Actually, mostly this channel. Because when I talk with people, you know, there's a gap. There's those who are fully immersed in it, and like my wife, for instance, she's 15 years younger than me, and she's very advanced and all. She used technology, but OGs and terminologies and virtual machine and blockchain and it's still a vague language for them. So I feel that for them to trust these kind of technologies and these kind of innovations, you know, somewhere there has to be a bridge from basic to advanced, and they have to. I think our purpose or our job, that we are a bit more deep down the rabbit hole. You know, it's like to bring that into a more simplistic term. Even the tech.
Definitely.
The tech.
The tech is still too hard to use.
You know?
We're still early. And that's one of my missions. See, how can we make this stuff easier for
accessible,
my mom and my dad and everyone to use.
Yes.
And if you think about it, even the internet, like in the 90s, hardly no one was using the internet. And now everyone's using it without understanding how it works.
Yeah.
You just go on email and send an email or whatever they want.
Yeah.
That's where we need to get in the...
That's what I try to... I have conversations with my mother and my father about investing their money in Bitcoin, you know, or some of them, you know, like get involved, man, you know, it's like, it's... That's right. You have money sitting in the bank and it's like, it's deteriorating rather than growing, you know, in reality, but they don't see it, you know? So, and but I don't understand it, you know, and it's like, I tell her, Ma, I mean, you switch on the light. Yeah. And it lights up. Do you understand how that functions? No.
That's it.
What's the most important thing? That when you switch on the light, it lights. And that's as far as you can go. You know? It's like so how can we but how can we bridge that? How can we bridge
it's going to take time as well, because we've always had centralized parties, centralized actors, and now we're saying that there's a system where no one is behind it, and people say, how can it be? Then like, but there's this Satoshi guy, clearly he's behind. It's like,
but who's Satoshi anyway? You know, it's like you're saying there's a god in the universe. All right, who the fuck is that guy, man?
And it's a hard concept to grasp. So I think over time people will realize that this decentralized tech, it can provide these assurances. But it's going to take time, and that's up to us to help bring that.
The thing is that it's going to take time, and time is going to bring more innovation. So it's like somehow I feel not a sense of, you can say a sense of urgency. It's like there are certain things that need to start happening now, because the way, if you take a time in a linear timeline, if you take what happened the last 20 years, it's like where it started from, you know, the dial-up, you know, that's fucking 90, man, not 1800s.
That's right.
You know, from dial-up to now, I'm creating art, the guy behind me, with artificial intelligence, man, and it's getting bananas, you know? Bananas. Like the models that they're releasing, they're outsourcing the models for everyone.
Exactly.
Like Stable Diffusion, there's already like 5 strands of it. Everyone is you know, so.
That's it. And I mean, now, like, I've been testing out some AI stuff, not on art, more on script writing, you know. It's like, wow, it's done, and it's really good as well. Which is great, because in future, hopefully, some jobs can be a bit more automated. And there's the one part is that maybe some people are scared of losing their jobs, so we need to make sure we upskill and reskill.
But I think some people need to lose their jobs
as well.
It's like, you know, it's like this is I call it a conundrum, man, you know. It's or the other one, what was the other definition? I'm not getting it at the moment. It's all right, you're scared to lose your job, but what if you lose your job? You can, you know, it's like you are not your job, man.
Exactly.
You can find another one.
Exactly.
Or you can drop the idea of a job and get your finances out of the bank, put them into a project, blockchain related. You get investment, and you might make money without your job, and you start traveling or start learning something else, or you know, or start your own job. You know,
exactly. Find some purpose that really builds you. And I hope that as more and more jobs become automated, which means there will be less people doing certain jobs, I hope that as a people that we actually benefit from it. And it's not just like the powers that be, the 1% of the 1% who are benefiting, and we're all at the bottom. I really hope that we see that future.
I trust so, man. I trust so. Maybe I'm going close to 50, so maybe I won't see it in my timeline, but maybe the guys after us. Yeah,
that's right.
You know, or at least maybe we start seeing the first 2 inches of it. You know,
and I mean, but we are seeing more of a movement now where people are saying we don't care so much about materialism. We want to focus on happiness. It seems like COVID has brought that upon us.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're going through like a spectrum. So there were the 60s, which seemed to like be very much in that area. Then we became too materialistic. Maybe we're going back to the other end, and it's just gonna keep going through this cycle.
Yeah. I think it's a natural order of things, huh? Like cycles. Like I'm into sound and as well. You know, it's like if you, for instance, for me to design a kick or a bass line.
Yep.
You start from noise. It's the same diffusion of the principle of AI. It starts from noise. It ends up into an image like that. In the meantime, what's introducing is cycles and rhythms.
That's right.
And patterns, and then it starts taking shape. So
everything is vibration, they say, right?
Yeah. This is where I have to not glorify, but thank God for psychedelics, man. You know, because these things are, it's like, you know, it's like, and that's another topic. I mean, we're venturing way out from my schedule, but it's interesting. Because I've been looking into some documentaries lately, and you mentioned the 60s and the psychedelics, and because the 60s is associated with the hippie movement, you know. They did introduce, because psychedelics have been there since the beginning, but it went into the public.
Yeah,
it became public. Yeah, so I can trace a bit of that effect in the generations after, and now, and you know, and it's a ripple effect. So
indeed. I mean, if you look at like a lot of the conferences, a lot of the up and coming things, psychedelics is one of them. So I was at Davos, which is like the underground Davos at World Economic Forum, which is really cool. Yeah, World Economic Forum here. And just before it, you have the guys who are like, we're not part of you, we're underground. And there were a bunch of areas that were just about psychedelics.
Yeah.
So you see psychedelics, tech, this new emerging society, somehow they
are, I think at the back end of things, they are linked. I think at the back end of things, they are linked. You know, it's like, because what psychedelics do is like they expand a bit your rigid intellectual compartments.
That's
right. Ultimately, in my experience, which I have a lot of experience, and I will have more experience. That's what I understand. What's happening in me is like these preconceived boxes of concepts, and which are a bit rigid, and I think they need to be rigid to a certain extent, you know, to incorporate them in your daily life, you know.
That's right.
But then they become a prison. So that's where you start introduce a bit of plasticity into it, and something else can start coming in.
Exactly.
And if that doesn't happen, you're not going to come up with these technologies and
exactly. In fact, like AI does a lot of that, where you create these compartments and you're pattern matching. What would be interesting is to see whether, and perhaps they're already doing this because I'm not an expert in AI, but to come up with a model where it starts to become more plastic as you introduce some form of new experiences.
I think it's happening, huh?
Probably it is.
I think it's happening because I can see the I've been like since the beginning of this year into this AI thingy, and somehow as much as I'm learning about her, because I call her a she, I mean we're in the era of non-binary, whatever. Sorry guys, but for me it's a she. You know, it's like she's learning about me, man. It's like it knows, let's call it it knows my set of prompts and my patterns.
That's right.
When I give, so now the prompts from me writing an epilogue, you know, I just write a couple of sentences, and it gives me bang on what I want, you know.
That's right.
The moment I introduce another concept, it goes all over the place.
Yeah.
It doesn't give me what I want, so I need to reintroduce other patterns. So
that's right.
It's fantastic, man.
but it starts to learn. And we've been using a lot of AI without knowing, like on our phones when we're typing and swiping.
It's the same, man.
It gets used to you.
Yes, yeah.
And all the social media platforms we use, it's figuring out who you are to show you advertising.
Yeah. And that brings the which is the morality.
Indeed.
Because that's something that pains me a lot. Not pains me, but yeah, for lack of better word at the moment, it pains me. Yes, the fear or the over-exaggerated idea that they are in control of us,
like that, AI,
like that. Not just the AI. I mean, like the platforms, that Facebook is like demonizing.
Yeah. That's right.
The human experience suffers from a severe bipolar disorder.
Yep.
You know, we're either mystifying and glorifying or demonizing something. It's like the way in between. It seems so oblivious to us. You know, we're binary. It's like either 1 or 0. It's like bit.
That's right. And we need to start seeing things in a non-binary fashion.
Yeah,
so we need to really be judging whether our opinions of certain things are valid or they do hold. I mean, this whole thing of Facebook knows everything about me and it's telling me what to think. I personally don't think that it does have too much influence on me, but I think there are certain people where it does have more influence on them, and it does create these areas of echo chambers. Like it does show you what you are more likely to interact with.
Yeah.
But is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Like what I don't accept is that when a platform can decide what's true or what's false, that is really what I find to be a bit of a problem, especially when sometimes these fact checkers that they put in place, they won't necessarily be facts. They're facts according to their platform.
To you, exactly. but it's the same. Forget technology, Facebook, AI, and all this. You know,
exactly.
Isn't that has been in place since day one? Like if I have a conversation with you and I hang around with you, it's going to be likely that I'm going to introduce some of your reality, some of your truth according to you. It's not empirical truth. It's not universal truth.
Exactly.
It's your perspective into mine. And I'm married. You know, it's like me before I met my wife. I was a complete different version of myself. I do things today and I see things in a certain way that I can attribute. This is the way she sees things.
That's right.
So that's happening even between human beings. So what's the big conflict?
Yeah, but
of the idea, right?
I used to think exactly that this has been around since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So should we have regulated it before? However, the difference now, and this is where I do come to agree that there needs to be some form of regulation, is that given that it is massively adopted, and these platforms can have effect on society at large, and
I think it's not that they can have effect.
They do.
They do.
Indeed.
They do. Come on,
for sure.
It's undeniable. It's
elections, all sorts of stuff.
The whole plot too. I mean, but for me, it's like, and that's the concept of this podcast. It's that I'm always the philosophical kind of thing, you know, because that's the way I see things, you know.
That's right.
But isn't it in itself what, for me, the situation, what is it calling for? Because you can regulate as much as you want, and we always know it's like there's no black without white.
Exactly.
If the coin has two faces always. So the moment I'm putting a regulation in place, universally, naturally, there's another mechanism that wants to break that regulation.
That's right.
For me, that's fundamental.
Definitely.
So the point here is, okay, so what is the real solution here? To to empower the people. Because if I know who I am, I know what I want, and I have a direction, you can start trying to tell me all sorts of things. I'm not gonna listen, or I will listen, but I won't integrate. I will only integrate according to where I'm going. If I don't have that, I will get lost.
Indeed, exactly. And not everyone maybe has that compass to help them. And when it comes to platforms, let's say that these platforms can and they do affect society, but let's say that they negatively affect society.
Yes.
That's where we need regulation. Now, I'm saying need regulation, like that's the easy part. How to regulate it? No idea, because you need to come up with a structure that says when certain direction and when an algorithm is showing certain information, is that good? Is that bad?
Yeah.
How do you choose that? Who's going to choose that? Those are the big questions that I don't think we have answers to.
And even the guys who are writing the code or coming with the technology that can facilitate this kind of regulation, are they regulated themselves?
No.
It's like, I think this is where, even within myself, when I have this conversation in my mind, it's like, where's the answer, man? I don't think that we will come up with a definite answer, or let me put it this way. I don't think that there is a permanent solution for this, because these are temporary problems that they will keep evolving. So our answers need to keep evolving as well.
That's right. And this is talking about changes we've never seen the like of before. Change society. I don't think we exactly know how certain changes will affect society. So it's going to be gradual.
Until we see the change. And then we regulate accordingly, right?
Exactly. And as well, perhaps our ethics, our morals, our compasses will change slightly over time. That will need changing as well.
I like the approach of the government of Dubai, how they went with the crypto and the blockchain. So which I didn't know, because I met this guy and we were talking about some really huge projects.
Yeah.
And they took the approach like not Europe and the United States and the rest. It's like, listen, we don't know what this does. We're not gonna start putting regulations in place before we venture into it. We go in it and we regulate accordingly. Exactly. Of course, the difference between that country and others is like they have the financial power to go for it. That's and they are not a democratized where everyone's opinion has some sort of value. It's like, this is the way we're going and we're doing it. That's it. It's like, which I have to admit that I like that kind of thing. I think it's more progressive.
Indeed. Sometimes centralization works. So let's say that we could choose a benevolent dictator who really sat down and always thought, what is the best for the greater good? And he made those decisions. That would be a fantastic place.
That is one. Now we call him God.
King Solomon is often said to be this type of person who, the law of the land, according to King Solomon, was he would take in all the evidence and make decisions based upon what he saw as just. And he was a very just person. I think if society were to change a bit and we were more just ourselves, we were more fair ourselves, we might be a bit better than have these hard laws in place.
For sure.
Just to not break them.
I think we would not be in a place of needing those kind of structures. We will need some sort of structure, but definitely not that.
Right. However, I think about Ioannis, who tells me this is why we need law, because people will not be like that. People are always going to be going against the grain. So,
something in me is just still would want to believe otherwise.
Same.
Like it's not that I have something against law, because there's let's face it, I mean, fundamentally nothing exists without a law. There's the law of rain, there's the law of energy, the law of gravity. Those are laws.
Right.
It's like a tree doesn't grow out of chaos. There's a certain fundamental law to it, So, but the laws that suffocates
Exactly.
That's where, and unfortunately, I'm in a place where I see that there is no one. It's supply and demand. If I'm in a place where I'm out of control, I'm in a powerless. I have all sorts of whatever you want to call them, distortions or ways of being. You know.
Yeah.
Then automatically, because I have those ways, it's not even I'm choosing. These are the laws. You know. Automatically, creation is going to create a regulator.
Indeed.
It's like you know. It's like, I don't know if you follow some philosophy. It's like the law of order and chaos, and they are one and the same. You know. So if we start, this is my like, I'm really fucking on fire about this.
Yeah.
You know. It's like if we start bringing this kind of education or understanding, you know,
Right.
then we will be in a better place of making certain decisions and certain structures that accommodate this, which automatically will lean into more harmony rather than disruption.
That's right.
I think so. You know?
So I agree. Like, I don't think we'll ever get 100% there where we say we can do away with all laws and oversight. But the more we educate, the more awareness there is, the more we're going to get closer to that and live in a more harmonious.
Yes, and at least laws that serve and they do what they are meant to be doing.
Exactly.
And not as always, like the code too. You know, like the code. If the code says it's going to make a calculation and come up with a certain answer, you expect that certain answer. Very simple. It's like,
and that's the nice thing about smart contracts. So if there are these things that are objective, we can put them into smart contracts.
Yeah.
We can have around them the elite, call them whatever you want, the just people to make the decisions where the code can't make decisions. Yeah. That would be great. And in fact, we come up with a lot of laws in the world that sometimes are stifling, yes, and we restrict too much early on. And one way to get around this, which is an approach a lot of countries are looking into, are sandboxes. So we don't know how to do it yet. So come into this sandbox.
I don't really understand the idea of sandbox.
No. You don't understand it?
I don't really know.
So the idea is you come up with a framework where there aren't many rules. Let's say we're coming up with a crypto ICO crowdfunding sandbox.
All right.
Instead of coming up with this really rigid legislation, you say, we're going to make some easy rules where you can only have 1,000 clients in your first month and you can only sell up to 10,000 euros. And then we're going to gradually see how to increase that and what restrictions to put in. So it's more onerous from a regulator and a governance structure. You have to really like sit hand in hand with them, but you learn as you go on and you can go up and scale.
All right. So I somehow I'm into it and I don't know it because the last 2 weeks it's like what the layer 2 and Web 3 is all about, no?
So I would say it helps Web 3 and it helps emerging tech to grow without knowing how it's going to grow.
And take it in phases. It's scaling.
Exactly. And we restrict it slightly because we do need to protect society. So we create some restrictions and gradually go up.
But they are elastic, not set in stone.
But the thing is, you need this just overseer to say these are the right level of restrictions. Something
I got to know and I got involved this Monday because I launched a side project to raise some funds for the main one. And my friend Clayton, he's in Australia and he's like full on. I will have a podcast with him. And he introduced me, he told me, why don't you launch on layer 2? Because anyway, today is the day where everything is going down and layer 2 is being introduced.
That's right.
Today is the 9th, yeah?
Indeed. So I'm not sure on which platform, but I mean, the great thing about that is faster transactions.
Yeah. Even the Ledger, they sent emails that the platforms will be down today.
Okay, because
they're migrating into layer 2.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. So into layer 2, there's this optimism, and they have a governance system where you have the voters, you have the investors. They are compartmentalized. They're in compartments. Then there is a kind of a round circle made of a lot of other people. These they feed that, but ultimately that's where the decision making is going. They say, all right, so the market cap will go like this, or we're taking this. Now it's time to expand, or you know. So it's
It's all about that governance. Like the whole space is. Well, a lot of, let's say, the layer one came from completely decentralized. We're all exactly equal. The collective makes sure that it works well. As we start to go on and we, let's say, want layer twos, we see that there might be the need for different types of governance structures. And we have no idea about what the right governance structure is.
How can we have an idea on?
Exactly. And this is going to take time. This is going to take time. I mean, you're seeing a lot of people in space who are like, let's completely decentralize everything. Now realizing, not everything needs to be decentralized.
But for me, it's, I see it in my journey. It's like when at some point I decided to, you know, fuck all this, I'm gonna go full on hippie, man. You know? Like traveling and not washing, not having a beard this big, and like leave nature to take its course, kind of thing. You know, it's like what happens will happens. You know,
that's right.
Which is fantastic to experience, and you know. But at some point, I came to a point that it's like, bro, this is completely unsustainable. You know, it's like it's fun, it's beautiful, but even in the depth of it, you know, it's you need even like I've been in a lot of hippie communities. As much as they say they are decentralized, because it's the same concept, it's the same principle. We're not reinventing any wheel here. It's the same principle, just a different iteration or variant of it, including AI and all of that, right? But even when I get into a community and they say, you know, we're free, and it's like, all right. Free from what? Because somehow someone is taking some decisions here, you know. So it's like it's kind of a concept that it cancels itself automatically, kind of thing. You know,
especially if you like one of the main ones, especially in the decentralized space, is like governance. We have to give taxes to governments. We always will need to pay tax, whether it's to a government, whether it's to a bunch of people in my area where we live together and we decide how we're going to pay for common stuff. We need a system like that.
It's impossible not to.
Indeed. What is the right? I don't know.
That maybe AI will sort out this shit, man. I strongly believe in this, no? It's like when I sit with myself and try to project what could be the trajectory of AI. Like, not if we're going in it, for sure we're already in it, where it can take us, you know?
Definitely.
I'm always have this like inner feeling. It's like, it's very simple, man. It will take the decisions that we know that we have to take, but we avoid of taking.
It can, but the thing with AI, like, even, you know, when it's learning, it gets used to you. It has a target. It wants to get used to you. That's what it's trying to do. If we want to get an AI to make certain decisions, we have to tell it what are the targets, what is good, what is bad.
All right.
So are we going to tell it, for example, maximize, make sure that tax becomes as cheap as possible? That might be a target, but it might trade off quality of life. It might trade off other things. We need to make sure that the targets we give it that are aligned with where we want to go.
All right. I'm gonna drop the bomb.
Do it.
Do you think that at some point AI will be conscious?
So, it's a tough one, and I don't want to look stupid in 50 to 100 years. Currently,
you're thinking of the future.
Currently, it is nowhere near it. So the AI that we have right now is, I would say, more or less the AI that from the first AI algorithm in the 60s or whenever. It's just we have faster computers, larger models. We can do much more. But AI is still limited to do one task, the task you train it to do. You can do more by just putting a lot of different AI bots together to do different tasks. But it can't do anything beyond that. And I don't see any progress towards moving beyond that. The only way we might get to some form of sentient life or something that emulates consciousness is if computers become so fast, maybe quantum computers, maybe whatever, they become so fast that they can literally calculate anything. Maybe then, but I'm not yet hopeful. And to be quite honest, though we might be able to get there, I think we have more serious problems to deal with the existing.
Until we get there, yes, for sure. But like I'm in the arts and in the wonder side of things, you know. It's
and like I'm trying to avoid answering it because I don't want to look stupid in 100 years.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe
Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe it's gonna take much more than 100 years.
Indeed, and maybe it'll be a different type of computing engine. So. Yeah. Clearly, we have some form of sentience.
Yeah, I think I don't give a sideways bleep.
Yeah.
How I'm gonna look in 100 years? So I'm gonna say, because it's just a perspective. I mean, whatever I'm gonna say now in 100 years' time, it's irrelevant anyway. So I seriously believe that if something sentient is creating something else, there's the potential of that creation to become sentience. The potential is there. So and the way processing power is going, I think it will get there at some point. Because back to what I said before, the law of supply and demand. If we're gonna keep depowering ourselves and get lost in stuff that it's more feeding our confusion rather than empowering us fundamentally, right?
Yep.
Then automatically I think there's a self-organized mechanism in place universally, right? And I don't want to sound abstract, but it is there. I mean, I talked with metaphysicists and all these kind of things. It's in place, so automatically it will create itself. It's not that we are creating it; it's birthing itself.
So the big question is,
the way I see it,
let's say we come up with a technology that is able to what we often call artificial general intelligence, to do stuff beyond what we trained it to do. Is it sentient just because it achieved that? What is sentience? What is consciousness? So if, I'm not gonna say us, but the whole nature versus nurture debate.
Yeah.
Ever a decision that I could have made different based upon my DNA and my experiences?
Yeah.
When it comes down to computers, then let's say that we have free will, like I want to believe that. Would the computer be able to make a decision differently if it had all the same input, exactly the same input? Would it have been able to make a different decision? And if not, is it sentient? Those are one of
how you can narrow a bit down to get to a certain answer or not, I think.
That's right.
So far.
But then if you introduce some form of quantum computing where there's multiple different states and perhaps some computational device that we don't know about.
What if we'll get to a point where you have a computational system where it's all knowing of all the information on the planet and starts channeling and translating information beyond our planet?
It's the same thing at a larger scale, so it's dependent on that information.
On the information. But on a, like we're getting down the rabbit hole, bro. It's like, I love it. But aren't we? Don't we function a bit on that level as well? I mean, if Joshua Ellul and Kevin Buzuttil would have landed in China and the other one would have landed in the desert, would we have been having this conversation the way we're you know? No.
Highly doubted.
So it's like, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like I always get to this point where because I allow myself to be a bit more neutral, what is wrong and what is right, and these like fairy tales of they're going to destroy us and the end of the world and all this cataclysmic fucking thinking. And I always get to a point, it's like, Pops, what's the difference, man? What's the difference? It's like I have debates with, I have a lot of friends here in Gozo that are vegans and natural, you know. It's like, yeah, because it's artificial intelligence, or that is not natural, you know. Okay, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's get to the core of it. What's your mobile made of? Like, what's the transistors, the motherboard, what's conducting the energy in there? It's metal. What's metal made of? I mean, how the supply of oxygen in our blood runs into the brain?
That's right.
Through metal, iron. That's why we need iron, because iron transfers makes the flow of oxygen better in the brain. It's like, so what's the difference between you and the phone?
Exactly.
Technically, yeah.
It depends how you define natural. Like, where do you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line?
Process being natural to being processed by man, and I think a lot of things are processed and we call them natural, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But coming back to the thing, like, how different are we? If I was born, so let's say we create a replica of this universe, completely the same. Yeah. And you get another me born at exactly the same time, with exactly the same DNA, and he goes through exactly the same experiences.
All right.
Could I have made a different decision in life ever? So my chemicals, everything was the same.
No, I think if it's the same, I think if it's just a replica without, but the moment you change one cloud,
exactly,
you changed the fractal.
Exactly. But it's the fact that you change that cloud means something external is making a decision for me, right? It wasn't an internal decision.
That's where you lose you have to really be elastic about the idea of free will.
I don't like pondering on it for too long.
I do, man. I spend hours on that, man.
I say just accept it. You know what? Doesn't matter.
It excites me. Somehow the fact that there's a spectrum where from one end it seems that you have free will, and on the other side, on the opposite side of it, you have not even a fraction of a free will. You know, so much so that if I say I'm gonna stop breathing, I can't. So well, there we go with my free will. You know.
But you might be able to, but was that even your decision, or is it just...
Exactly. It's like, first and foremost, from the reality that I live in, yeah, I can't stop breathing. I try it, but it doesn't work more than a 1 minute maximum, you know. And I'll be like, so, but somewhere in between, there's this dance where,
indeed,
where having free will and not having free will, it's somehow one and the same.
That's right.
And I think, at least in my phase of life where I am now, it's like I wanted to tap more into that. So I will be in a better position where I can read life. I can read a bit more the not having the free will, the let's call it cosmic, natural, universal, godly, whatever, you know. It's like there's all sorts of theocracy about it, you know. And ground it into what's this decision that I'm doing here, you know. And it could be down to fucking the most trivial things. I mean, like, you know, it's like, I'll give you a case in point, you know. This week we kicked in properly in the server of Discord, and like always, you know, it's like these people all over, like I'm having messages, hi, do you need a moderator, do you need this, I'm a professional this, I'm a professional that, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, it's coming out of my ears, man, you know. But this guy from Ghana is like, somehow in his message, that it was the shortest, and the one is like, and I already have a team of moderators, which I'm paying. You know, it's like, in reality, I don't need him. But one of the moderators that I'm paying at the moment, he translocated. He had difficulty with moving, so it created a vacuum. And I'm like, I'm a bit like bam bam on these things, you know. So this guy comes in that space, and it's like, okay. And I feel that he needs this because the way so it's not just what I'm getting. It's like, bro, if I can help him with 200 euros to go by for 2 months, why not? You know? So it's like, how am I translating, interpreting all this information from, and that's where then I have a choice on those, whether I comply or not. I have a choice.
Alexa, stop. Sorry, that's my my AI.
Your AI.
Definitely, I agree. The way that I tend to do it is, I love the discussion. I love like the debate going into it. But then in normal life, I say ignore it.
Yeah, you need to be grounded as well. No? You need to be grounded. Like that's where my wife come in place. You know, because it's like I go down. It's like, you know, it's like this. It's like she tells me, babe, let's just watch a fucking series or something. You know, like chill out because you're tripping.
We're here for 60 to 70 years. At least enjoy a bit of it outside of the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So that's the let's ground, coming to that point. Yeah, it's like, how can we utilize all of this?
Yeah.
How we're gonna bring it into how we're gonna ground it.
So for me, to be quite honest, is I just ignore it. I don't use that information or I tend not to use it to help me out in my day-to-day. I completely separate them.
Yeah. So you leave the let's call it the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
For the sake of context.
Yep.
You venture in there. You get some understanding, but you put it on hold so you can carry on with your life. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the rest of it is a lot of it's logical. Of course, there's emotions, and sometimes in life there are emotions that I know are logical, but I say I can't help it. I know it's logical, but I'm going in this direction because my emotion got the hold of me. But the rabbit hole stuff, I say no, I'll leave that aside.
Nice, man. I think we've been. I told you it's going to be 30 minutes. It's been an hour, man.
And Alexa is telling me that I have something else.
Okay, so all right, let's conclude. And what would you like to say? Leave the listeners with this. Like,
so I think one important message is find that thing that you love doing, that you're passionate about, and that you're also able in as well. Because like once someone told me, he said, you might be passionate about something, but you might be terrible and you have no chance in it. Be a bit pragmatic. If you're choose something else. I think that is the most important message, that I think if everyone in society did that, I think we would live in a much better place.
For sure. Follow your truth.
Indeed.
Joshua, thank you for your time, man. I'm really looking forward to have more of these conversations online, and looking forward to meet in person as well.
Likewise, Kevin. Looking forward to catch up soon. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, man. Have a nice day.
You too.
Ciao.